Opinion, that is because it's rear-wheel drive. A lot of modern cars are front-wheel drive and they don't compare in the predictable handling that MGB has got. And the thing is, particularly with open car, you can actually smell the hay in the field. You're much nearer to your motoring than you are in these tin boxes.
Our first job now we've got it in the workshop is actually to see whether the engine will turn over, and if possible we can get it running. Then we'll try and get it out down the farm track and drive it to see whether we've got gears and so on. But before we turn the engine over, it has been standing for about 3 years, this car, we need to do a little bit of work on it just in case there's anything gone on inside since. So we've drained out the oil, we'll put fresh oil in it just in case it's got any grot in it, also change the oil filter. We'll take the spark plugs out and we'll turn it over by hand first to make sure that if something like a valve is stuck, if you turn it over by hand, you'll feel that. Obviously, if you're doing it on a starter motor, you could seriously damage something. So we'll whip a few bits out, lubricate it up, and then give it a go. It's actually quite good, that. Do the old sniff test, see if there's any petrol in the oil. And that smells very oily and not at all petrol-y, so that's good. We'll just spray some light machine oil down the bores just to help lubricate them a bit. So the plugs are out, we haven't put any oil back in yet, so all I want to do whilst there's no compression in the cylinders is just try and turn it over by hand to check everything is free and moving, and there's nothing sticking at all, which is good because via the cam I also know that the valves can't be sticking open or anything, otherwise the piston could have hit one and then I wouldn't be able to move it, so it all feels very good to me. Right, so we've done all the checks, so basically we know the engine's not seized. We also know that we've got a spark to the spark plugs. From a fuel point of view, we've poured fuel, nice clean fuel, through the filter here to fill the bowls. We've unscrewed the dampers on the carburettors, which means the pistons can move up and down more easily. So in principle, it should work. So Pete, you're on the ignition.
Okay, Pete. Yeah, here we go.
It's not firing at all. Well, we've checked over all the electrics and we've got spark, so that isn't a problem. So we're going to try again and put some more volatile aromatics out of a can into the carburettors to try and get the thing cranked up. So, Pete, foot to the floor and turn it over.
Here we go.
Hey! Yes, so we've got clouds of smoke out the back. That is such a classic MGB sound, isn't it? I mean, that's all right, that.
Got oil pressure, by the way.
Got oil pressure.
Sounds brilliant.
No, I'm pleased with that. Switch it off for now. Well, there you go. That's been 3 years and it hasn't been used at all. We've just pulled it out of a barn and apart from just putting some new oil in it, no new parts and it's running. So that's got to be a good omen. After the break, we might strip some of the accessory bits of it, but before we take the engine out or anything major like that, we need to go down the farm track and see if we've got some gears. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to An MG Is Born. Who's nicked my steering wheel? Now, as you can see, we've stripped a lot out of this vehicle already, but we're doing it in a much more slow and considered way than a normal project. And the reason is, even if you only leave a few weeks between stripping a car out and trying to rebuild it, you forget where all the little bits go. So this is the most useful bit of kit that we have on this project so far, a digital camera. And what we're doing is, with a mate of mine, we're actually writing a computer program to log all the strip details of this, all the parts we take off, everything's photographed and logged, so when we come and rebuild it again, we can go back to the computer and it'll show us exactly where everything fits. But the very next job, before we carry on stripping the vehicle to bits, is to check the gearbox. We know the engine's running, that's fine. We need to check we've got all the gears and also the overdrive works. So next, it's outside. Most ridiculous place to test a little sports car like this on the farm. on a farm track. It's all getting very cosy in here. But look, I mean, she's running, she's driving in first. That's got to be good, isn't it? Second, third, very nice, no crunching. That's all 4 gears. It's a good job these are private roads, you see. Right, into reverse. We have reverse as well. What we also need to check, though, is very important, is the overdrive, because these overdrive units, these overdrive units that they got in here, and there's a switch for overdrive there, normal up, overdrive on. Some people had problems with these, with the switch gear that's at the gearbox end in terms of stopping you putting overdrive in first, second and reverse. And when that happened, because the switch gear in here is quite difficult to get to, they just shorted the wires out. And shorting out the wires was a big mistake, because it means you could get overdrive if you switched it on in first, second and reverse, in all gears in fact. But it has a one-way clutch in the overdrive unit, which if you rotate it the wrong way, absolutely knackers it. So we want to check it works, but also that it's switching it properly and it isn't going to be available in first and second and reverse. So, right, start her up and we'll go back down the track. So that's first, second. Let's see if we can put overdrive in. OK, but do we have it in third and fourth? So that's third. At this speed, it's difficult to tell whether we got overdrive in third, but I don't think we have. But basically, the 4 gears and reverse are fine. There's no crunching or anything, which is good news. It's just the overdrive situation. It's a sweet little car, though, really comfortable. This is going to be a cracking car when we finish. Now, the bumpy old farm tracks were not the ideal surface on which to be testing the overdrive, so we've got a little experiment coming up. What they did test, though, was the suspension, all 4 wheels are in place, but the 2 rear ones are now off the ground, courtesy of the jacks, because we want to start it up, Pete, put it in gear and allow the wheels to turn. Now, I'm not suggesting you do this at home, OK, which is why we've got a nice trajectory into the field if the jacks collapse, and it's also why my techie is driving and not me. Pete, put it in third, bring it up to about 40 miles an hour, and then keep it at that speed, and then put on the overdrive. And what we're looking for is effectively the speed to increase a little bit with overdrive and obviously drop back when you switch it off again. Third and fourth is fine. Excellent. Stops, not so well, but it stops. And also we've checked that it doesn't switch in second, which is really critical. So that's good. Good test, that. Pete, if you can get it off the jacks, mate, I've just got something to do. This is our test viewer here. Hello, darling. All right? Are you not feeling very well? You're not happy? No? You're all right? Well, why the long face?